Hey there. I don't think, let's see if your audio is connected yet. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Let's see. Go ahead. Can you hear me okay? I'll type to you. Just 1 second. Let's see if you can hear me. No. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Um, if you're, oh, okay. I'm gonna, hey, can you hear me now? No, I can't hear you. Let's see. Let's ask the audience. Audience, can you guys hear my audio? All right, testing 1, 2, 3. Brenda, Eve, Gwen, Jeffrey, Mary, can any of you guys hear my audio? All right, so I can see that Patience and Eve are saying that they can hear me, which is great. So give us 1 second, guys, and we're gonna kick off in just a second. And I'm actually going to enable the chat to make sure you guys can actually hear us. So you guys can start out by just telling us where you're currently located. You could share with us something fun like what company you're currently working with, or if you're an entrepreneur, you can start typing some of those things into the chat, and that'll actually help our conversation today. Okay, I see Deb. She's a member of BW Self. And who else? You guys can, the chat is now activated. Feel free to type your responses in there and introduce yourself to the rest of our attendees today. Oh, I just felt like I unmuted. So I see Eve is here from the Chicago Department of Public Health. We also have Patience who's here from Planned Parenthood. Gwen is here. She says she's from Chicago. She's a retired corporate event planner. So you'll have to share with us at some point how you retired. I'm sure we'd all love to know how to retire at some point. So Julia, I can't quite hear you yet. Did you dial into the? Okay. Okay, that's not a problem. So we're going to start in just a minute. I do want Juliet to share a little bit more about the organization and introduce herself and talk about this series because it's such a important thing for us and our community and for healthcare. So I'm looking forward to participating in this discussion and getting to know everyone that's currently on this call. I see quite a few people. We have Bernard here. We have Brenda, Eve, Gwen. We have Jeffrey. I see Judy here, Linda. We have Marion. Let's see. And we have Patience, who we said hello to earlier. I see Sheila in. Tamara, and I'm kind of skipping through names and randomly picking. And I think I just heard a little sound from the audio. Let me see.
Can you hear me on the phone?
Yeah, so you're through the webinar as well now. That's perfect.
That's fine. Yeah, but thank you. So you let me know when you want me to do what you want me to do, and I can do it.
Oh, yeah. So if you could just go ahead and you can introduce yourself, and then you could tell them about the series and your organization. And then once you pass it back to me, I'll start the entrepreneurial component.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Someone is asking how to get on. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juliet Jones with Universal Family Connection. I am the Director of Risk Reduction. So I'd like to thank you all. And we're still going to pace ourselves because a few people are still trying to get in. You see me with my head down. That means I'm trying to, maneuver things to get them on as well because it's important that everyone gets on. So Universal Family Connection is a full-fledged social service organization. We are a not-for-profit centered on the south side of Chicago. We have 2 locations, one in the Beverly area and the one in Auburn, Gresham. For today's webinar, it's going to be a 12-month series webinar that's going to be led by Black women doctors, and we have Dr. Brittany Martin. She's the first one. She's initially going to start this series off. You all, just to let you know, just to recap, we did this like 3 years ago. We did focus groups on the west side, north side, south side, and the east side, so like the southeast side of Chicago. We did 5 focus groups, and they all was comprised of Black women or African women, and we wanted to capture their barriers or their challenges in their successes on accessing health care as a Black woman, you know. And we also want to meet the needs of the Black woman. So we did that focus group, and we had like 25-plus questions, and you don't have to answer all the questions, but most women did, and that's fine. It was recorded. And so we, at each focus group, we nominated like 2 or 3 women to stand out to be the leader, because we got to have a leader, right? And so you all voted who should be your leader to lead the work group. And the work group comprised of 9 Black and African women. And so at each of the focus groups, you all did that. So we have them on the line. And so what we did, we met twice a month to come up with a plan to how can we deliver the voices of the 100-plus Black women who attended the focus group, because the focus group consists of more than 100 Black women. So that was powerful. So we have to do something with that. We have to carry that. So we look at the high priority of that focus group. What was a concern? What was a barrier, right? So we're trying to address, you know, issues and resolve them, so that everyone can go through the healthcare system without any hesitation of racial injustice, any hesitation of no knowledge of what their illness were. So we felt it was important to get that work group together to look at the priority. And so that is exactly what they did. We did it twice a month. Even throughout COVID, when COVID hit, we still kept going virtually. We held virtual meetings. So our task was to come up with a structural intervention that's going to speak to the women and their accessing health care. And we looked at certain objectives. We looked at, for HIV-positive women, we wanted to make sure they were achieving viral suppression. How is that? We want to make sure they had access to their medicines. We want to make sure they were adherent to their doctor's appointment. So that's our focus. That's the first focus that we're looking at in our structural intervention. And we also want to make sure that Black women who are HIV negative stay HIV negative. And how is that? They have to know about PrEP. PrEP is pre-exposure prophylactic. It's a pill, it's a program that an HIV negative woman would take that pill to remain HIV negative. So we have to inform them about it, right? And now we have to give them access to it. I mean, we have to pinpoint them to doctors, to Black medical doctors who know about PrEP and can help guide them on making that selection or coming to the terms that, yeah, I do want to be on PrEP. So Dr. Martin, that's why it's important to have the Black doctors at the forefront of this. This is the first thing that's ever been thought of in Chicago, and I've been working with the city of Chicago for over 22 years in this position as a health educator. So I know this is the first time they focus on Black women and their health and their access to health care. And it goes beyond health care. Outside of health care, are they living good? You know, are they loving right? Are they eating right? So it goes far beyond being HIV positive. And so lastly, what we want to do is we want to help shape those prevention messages surround HIV and other comorbidities for women. We want to be the face of those prevention messaging. We want it to be the Black face. We're not having any bias towards anyone else. We just want to be the one to lead that for us. And so we're going to be doing that with a series of ad campaigns. We're going to be doing it with a series of videos. So I'd like to thank Dr. Martin. Again, I'm going to be saying it so many times throughout. I'd like to thank you already for the marketing material that you have produced. So it's been on point already. And so what the women of the work group did, we have to own it, right? So what they did was they named themselves. They named themselves BWSEP, Black Women Supporting Empowering Lifestyle Factors. And so the structural intervention they came up with is our power, our voice, our control. So the best way for me is says PVC. I know there's probably some form of plastic, right? But our power, our voice, our control is the name of the structural intervention. And so this is the first 12-month series that's going to be led by Black doctors. We're also going to do other series that's going to be led by the women of the work group and other providers. So it is important that we're going to send out a survey to Black doctors. So, yes, Dr. Martin, we will need your help to help press that button and send that survey out to Black doctors. We're talking about the intern doctors that's coming in. We're talking about the Black fellows. You know, we want to be able to have a roundtable discussion and teach and learn from the Black doctors. We want them to learn from us as being HIV-negative women and HIV-positive women, because our work group comprised of both. So, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. So thank you. And I know this is different. I have to say this, Dr. Martin. This is a different format. I know usually you all would see your faces, see your videos. This is a webinar, and a webinar is designed to have the panel to be shown and to be heard. It's also designed for the host to be heard and seen by you all. So we can't see you all, and we can't hear you all, but you're more than welcome to use the Q&A or the chat for any questions or comments you would like. So thank you. And Dr. Martin, I can't hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, I just unmuted myself. I didn't want to, just in case. So I'll go ahead and I'll start sharing my screen, and that way you guys can get to know me a little bit better. So 1 second while I do that. And you guys are going to let me know if you can see my screen in just a moment. I always have a ton of stuff up, by the way, no matter what I'm doing. So that's, we'll talk about that too. So let me know if you guys can see this PowerPoint here. I'll just make it larger here.
Yes, I can see it, but it's for everyone else. So yes, I can see it. But that's a perfect pitch too.
Okay, perfect. So normally I had to go into like full presentation mode. I'm okay if you guys kind of look ahead, on the left-hand side. So this presentation is how to leverage your entrepreneurial spirit during a pandemic, because as you guys know, many people have lost their jobs. A lot of people are jumping into entrepreneurship. And while the pandemic is bad, it's also created a ton of opportunities for people. So I want to point some of those things out throughout this presentation. And I want to give you guys some tips and tools, whether you're a student, whether you're just trying to climb the corporate ladder. Again, if you're trying to start an organization, we can talk about all of those things throughout this presentation. And I do want to give you guys the opportunity to ask me questions. So I'll be stopping, I'll be looking at the chat, and I'll try to interact with you as much as possible. So again, my name is Dr. Brittany Martin, and I am a marketing expert. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a professor, I teach. I'm also a career coach, I do consulting. I call myself a webinar enthusiast, but I have a video production company, and I am a full-time mother. So I have 3 toddlers who are now at the ages of 3. My twins are 3, and my baby will be 2 in another week. So I have 3-year-old twins and a 2-year-old baby now. So I am a full-time mother while working a full-time job and having multiple businesses going right now. I actually had all 3 of my kids when I was obtaining my doctorate degree. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and now kind of go into full presentation mode. Let me know if you guys can still see the full screen now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to talk a little bit about these things, but I do want to just kind of highlight here that somehow during my doctorate program, I was able to, again, have my children, start these companies, and a lot of it just has to do with organization and creating support systems. So you always hear about those numbers, right? Like most businesses don't make it. So many fail, but you don't have to. So within the first year, they say 20% fail. Within the first 5 years, 45, almost half fail within the first 5 years. Over half fail within the first 10 years. But 25% make it beyond 15 years. And I just want to paint a picture as to why this is true. It's not necessarily because companies have failed. It's because a lot of companies have pivoted. They may not be the same organization 15 years down the line because of technological changes. So that's something to kind of think about too, is that the companies fail, or did they simply close because they needed to pivot into another direction? So we're going to talk about versatility, and we're going to also talk about how to adjust or how to become adaptable in the environment that we're in now. And then as far as climbing the corporate ladder, as I mentioned before, I am a career coach as well. I've been in career development for the last 12 years, so resumes, cover letters, helping people with interview skills as well. I worked at various universities. I actually managed 12 campuses independently for 25,000 students. So always happy to give advice out on these topics as well. But what I've learned over the years and in talking to recruiters as well is that few people rise to leadership positions. And a lot of it has to do with just people just simply don't act. So they don't go to HR. They may not go to their managers. They simply don't ask for the promotion. They continue to work, but they don't necessarily ask for a promotion. And this is mainly true for women specifically because there's a statistic that says over 70% of women fail to ask for salary increases. So I heard this statistic maybe 8 years ago, and I was shocked. I was shocked to hear that women don't ask for promote. A lot of women weren't asking for salary increases. So I asked for one like the next day when I heard that statistic, and I actually got one. I ended up getting a promotion 3 times within a year because I just kept asking. And I just became like very innovative about like how I asked for those promotions. Mm-hmm. So I started as like a career coach, but then at the end I ended up being an assistant national director because I continued to find needs within that company. So that's something we can kind of go into as well. And then experience and education do not match the desired career path. So, how many people go to school for 4 years, get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, and then they have this epiphany, I want to be a chef, or I want to bake, or I want to, just do something else. And it's because their passions, either their passion was always that, or it changed. And that's okay. So how do we kind of overcome some of those barriers with experience and education? So you're going to see me kind of like go back and forth to these slides. I'm actually going to jump back to these slides at some point so that we can have a more in-depth conversation about why some of these statistics are true. And then academia is a challenge. And like I said earlier, I had all 3 of my children while I was getting my doctorate degree. So I actually have pictures of me pregnant, like huge. And in each arm, I had a baby. And then I had my laptop like right in front of me, like angling them so that I could like finish my dissertation. So it is difficult. It could be very difficult depending on like what your life circumstances are. Maybe you work a full-time job that says it's 40 hours, but you're really working 50, 60 hours a week. So again, you're going to hear me keep saying organization because that is truly the way to navigate through these situations, is to become organized. This statistic I can absolutely believe is true. 370,000 people either fail or drop out. Why is that, the case? Because they haven't figured out what their purpose is. Maybe they started an accountant and they took that first accounting class and said, I don't think I like math. Or I don't think I like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Maybe they're more creative and they needed to go into like marketing or something like graphic design. So it's okay to kind of stop and figure out what's important to you or what you're passionate about. It's being able to recognize that early and then, again, just pivot and go in the correct direction. And then I really like this statistic too. 21 out of 100 people graduate within 6 years. So I have a good friend now who told his story about how he dropped out of high school. He dropped out of college 3 times. He now has his doctorate degree. And it wasn't because he didn't want to do it. It was because, again, like life obstacles sort of stopped him in those moments. But once you kind of get those things out of your way, you can create a path for yourself to accelerate through those things really quickly. So just really quick, because I'm older now, so I don't mind sharing these numbers, but I finished college by the time I was 20, and I had my MBA by the time I was 22. I'm much older than that now. So how was I able to accelerate through those programs? Again, it was organization. I asked if it was possible. So I went to my advisor and I said, I don't think I want to stay here for 4 years. Is there, a way out of this? So, and it wasn't because I didn't like school. I just wanted to get to my career faster. I asked her for the schedule and she said, hey, if you could figure it out, I'll let you leave early. And I did. I calculated if I could take an extra class my last 2 years, I could graduate in 3 years versus 4 years. She looked at the schedule, said it makes sense. She said, if I can handle it, go for it. And she approved it. So I was able to get out faster because I knew what I wanted to do a couple of years down the line. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that it may take some people 3 years, it may take some people 8 years. The point is to just persist and keep your goal in mind and just continue to move forward. Because it's not about when you do it, it's that you did it. It's that you started your business, that you tried to start your business, it's that you went to school, it's that you started a health goal, you started working out. So it's about the effort that you put forth in trying to do it. Because every single time you try to do it, you're getting a step closer. And I think it's Les Brown that says very often, if you shoot for the stars and miss, or if you shoot for the moon and miss, you'll still land among the stars. So that's really important to know that as long as you keep, putting one foot in front of the other, you'll get somewhere. So that's what I encourage you to do.
Thank you.
So what stops most people? That is the question. So what stops most people? So before I kind of get into this, I actually had a poll that I wanted to send out to you guys to sort of guide this conversation a little bit more. So before we say what stops people, what is your current focus? And then we'll navigate our conversation a little bit around those topics. So again, where is your current focus? Is it school? Is it career? Is it starting a business? Is it family? Or is there something else that kind of is grabbing your attention right now? And if you select other, if you feel comfortable sharing it in the chat, I think that would be helpful as well, again, so we could just sort of guide the conversation a little bit more. You know what, Deborah, I actually wanted to add travel in there, and I did not. I have a good friend who I'm looking forward to her traveling journey, hopefully later this year. So let's see where we are. We're about a minute in. So the majority of you either said, oh, most people are saying family now, so that's really great. And most people are saying other, so travel. 20% of you guys want to start a business. No one says school, and I understand that right now because school is a very ambiguous thing right now. We don't know what's going to happen with that. And then the other thing is we don't know if we necessarily need it. We have so many resources with YouTube and Udemy and all these self-learning things, so it's really interesting. Now, those of you who said family, is it starting a family? Is it spending more quality time with your children or your loved ones, your parents? I'd be curious to see why you're saying family. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and end this poll, and then we're going to jump right back in with family being number one. So what stops most people? Themselves. Self-doubt, imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is very interesting because it's this constant voice in your mind that gives you doubt and says, you can't be X, or you can't do this, you can't start a business, you shouldn't be in school. It's challenging whether or not you're capable. So a good friend of mine introduced me to something called, and this is one of the first tools I'm going to give you. It's called the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. So that's a book that I really encourage you to read. It's called the 5-second rule. And anytime you get those thoughts in your mind, that self-thought, that self-doubt in your mind, you start at 5 and you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then at 1, you have to physically start doing that action. So I've done this for like 6 months. It's extremely effective. So you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you start doing that action. For instance, if you set a goal that, you want to work out and lose weight, I know I don't particularly always like getting up, because if I work out, I have to get up at 5 a.m. before my kids get up to work out. So I set my alarm for 4:50, and then I let it go off a couple times so I can, snooze. And at the last snooze, because I know at the third time it's not going to go off again, I will count to myself 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you have to get up, and that propels you to fulfill that goal. Or let's say you suffer from anxiety. You could do the same thing if you have one of those doubts or one of those moments. You can say to yourself, I'm going to smile, or I'm going to be happy in this moment, and you count down. The reason why this works, or the reason why this 5-second rule works, is because it's sort of like launching you. It's like a countdown, like the spaceship. So it's been statistically, or it's been scientifically proven by doctors and by scientists as well, that this somehow works for people. So I encourage you to try it again next time you have one of those doubts as to whether or not you should start something or do something, and see if it works for you. Again, Mel Robbins is the creator of that tool. Also, if you want to start a business, you start that LLC application or a 501c3 application, and you're not sure if it looks good, count down and just click send. Because, some of us want to be perfect before we launch a business, or before we start a blog, or before we release a book. Sometimes, you'll click send to something and you'll find a mistake later. I'm sort of a person who just takes a risk and just says, I'll fix it later if I have to. And sometimes you have to have that mindset that not everything has to be perfect, or you'll never get started. So I just implore you to start. It doesn't have to be perfect. You have to just get going. You can correct things along the way. Okay. So let's get into what the entrepreneurial spirit is. It's not just being an entrepreneur. It's not just starting a business. It truly is a mindset. So that's why I kind of keep referencing school and, health and all these other things, because this spirit can propel you through most things. So it's really a mindset. It's about being passionate about something. It's about, creativity. It's about being optimistic and curious. It's about being a risk taker. So what we found throughout the pandemic was that a lot of our friends and families became entrepreneurs, right? It could have been because maybe they were laid off or their hours got reduced, or it could have just been because, it was their moments to say, you know what, all this bad stuff is happening around me. I'm going to just try something and see if it works and see if it sticks. So again, while last year was very negative in some ways, it brought out a lot of positivity in people and gave them room to kind of grow and develop in some areas. So these, basic things, being passionate, being creative, being optimistic, those are things that you can carry really in any aspect of your life. So that's what we'll start with here and just say, you probably already have all 5 of these things. You probably are already a risk taker. You're probably already curious. It's about learning how to pull those things together strategically and then just pushing forward. Okay. And I'm going to share everyone that's on this call today. I'm going to share these slides with you as well because I want you to be able to, download them, kind of reflect on them and take notes. So anything that I ever produce for you guys, I want to make sure you also have access to it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I said the schools because these could really be broken out into like various things, but this is actually a chart that I created and I use it on a daily basis in multiple different ways. So I'm going to share this chart with you. And this is something that I just sort of have added on throughout the last 10, 15 years. So in order, again, in like any capacity to navigate through some of these things, you have to create kind of like your overall mission or vision for your life. So when you create a mission statement for your life, you're saying, I want to be a millionaire. Maybe that, but you also have to add in certain components. I want to be a millionaire by becoming a financial expert. And then you have to create a vision for yourself. What does that really mean? Like, what is that number? So you have to get more specific when you actually write your vision statement because that is truly the future. The mission is what you want to kind of do or live up to every day. The vision is where you want to see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years. So those are kind of like how I'm going to distinguish those two things. So I really encourage you to do that, to create some sort of mission statement for yourself, whether it's I want to be a straight A student, or I want to be a straight A student because, and then you think about what that long-term thing is that you really want to do with yourself. But in order to do that, you have to create goals, right? So in order to be a straight A student, I need to study consistently. I need to make sure I submit all my assignments on time. I have to make sure that I'm communicating regularly with all of my instructors. So those are the goals. Those are kind of like those bigger pieces. But then you have to break those down even further, right? And those are the tasks. And the tasks are what I usually focus on now. Because, you're going to study, but when are you going to study? Are you going to study an hour in the morning? Are you going to study an hour during your lunch break at night? When are you actually going to complete the task? So you have to make sure that when you complete that it's actionable, that you can really like execute that thing. But once you create that task, again, make sure that it actually aligns with your goal, because sometimes we create these to-do lists and we put all the stuff on there and then it has nothing to do with what we actually want to accomplish. Like for instance, we'll go back to school just for an example. Maybe you want to join 6 organizations, but only 3 of them are actually in alignment with your future career goal. So you have to cut out the things that aren't going to actually get you where you want to be. Maybe a friend asks you to join it. Politely tell that friend, I love football, but this isn't. I want to be a writer, so I need to spend this hour on something else. So it's just sort of creating focus for yourself. And then, did you actually complete that goal? So, you said you were going to study for an hour on Tuesday. Did you actually do it? Why or why not? So you have to consistently make sure that you're self-evaluating. So that's really important. And then, again, just sort of writing it down, like maybe you didn't finish it because you got distracted by another task. Was that task truly more important? Was it a priority? Do you think you should adjust some of your dates? So just making sure you're looking at kind of like the overall big picture on what you should be doing. And then I made sure I put in here add detailed steps. So maybe you need to read pages 20 to 35. You know, maybe you need to pull 5 articles down. Or, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, maybe you need to call or make 5 dials, you know, a day in order to secure the number of clients. You really need to meet your financial goals every month. Because I think that's really important too. I do want to point that out if you are thinking about starting a business. Sometimes we create all these beautiful marketing pieces and then we forget about the sales component of it. Make sure you create a schedule for yourself. Like, you know, it is a real company. It is a real job. It's your thing. It is a real job. So if you could work 9 to 5 for a corporation, maybe you need to work 9 to 5 for your business too, and set like real office hours for yourself. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail, is that they may have quit their job and then they have all this flexibility, and then they get so like in love with the flexibility that they forget that they have to have discipline too. So make sure you're creating some discipline for yourself as well. You know, you hear like, for instance, Eric Thompson always talks about like the grind or like grit, and he talks about waking up at 3 a.m. You know, maybe you can't wake up at 3 a.m. I particularly don't like to wake up at 3 a.m. But he does that so that he can stop working early. So that's his strategy. He'll wake up at 3 a.m. and then he'll stop working by like noon because he's done all his work for the day. Now he can go enjoy his family. So create a schedule that works best for you. And again, that's in line with your overall goals. A lot of you said you wanted to focus in on family, so maybe that's a place where you can make an adjustment. And then we talked about mission and vision statement. Again, when you look at your to-do list, if you get to the end of the week and you have like 5 items on there, ask yourself, do you actually need to complete those tasks? Because you didn't do it. Maybe it wasn't that much of a priority. So do you really need to do it? Do you really need to clean that cabinet out today? Do you really need to, submit this extra credit assignment? Maybe you have a 99% in that class, and maybe you could let that 1% go. You're still going to get an A. So it's about really evaluating, again, like whether or not you're balancing yourself out and taking on the right amount of workload for yourself. And then list key people and tools. So this is something I think people who do have an entrepreneurial spirit have an issue with. I have a lot of friends who have companies right now, and they forget to ask for help. They forget to tap into their support system. And this is something that I've had to learn to do. I'm not a person who easily asks for help, but I'll tell you on the heartbeat that I have a few key people that I will call to make sure that I get things done now. So make sure you're looking at that list and asking for support. For instance, what if so I think that I had this conversation with someone a couple hours ago. They could absolutely write a blog article, like they're a gifted writer, but they also have 50 other tasks that they need to complete. They probably need to just ask someone to volunteer and do it, or just pay somebody to do it. So look at your task and say, can I delegate this to somebody else, or can I ask for help? Maybe, like for me, again, I'm a mother, so I have to ask my mother frequently to help me, because realistically, I cannot be on my laptop and hold 3 toddlers at the same time. So I've learned how to ask for help when I truly need it. And then ask yourself, has my goal evolved? What are the internal and external factors that are impacting me? So when I say internal, think about what's in your household. Think about, how your space is, because it's absolutely true that if your space is cluttered, then it's difficult for you to complete tasks, because there's always going to be something distracting you, right? So you can, you look on your cabinet and say, oh, here are all these, or your kitchen sink, you see dirty dishes. You're going to think about washing the dishes versus actually sitting on your computer. So make sure you just eliminate distractions around you when you start to work. External factors, the economy, social issues that can impact your work, maybe some regulations that can impact your work, a lot of organizations got hit last year due to policy changes. So you want to keep track of anything that could impact you personally, or impact, your organization, or impact your education, because a lot of schools have actually closed within the last several years as well. So, pay attention to that stuff, whether it's via social media or you're doing like a quick check on the news. It's important to know what's happening around you. And then when I say has your goal evolved too, I'll give you an example. So I mentioned earlier that I have a virtual event organization. Webinars and virtual conferences are constantly changing, and it's great. But has your goal evolved? Now I'm looking ahead, and I'll talk to you guys about what that means. And I'll give you actually an example with respect to my organization. And then again, do you need to add or remove something? So I encourage you to kind of do this. I will show you now, but I have like 4 dry erase boards around me at all times. I have a calendar. That calendar has a list on it. I have I wish I could show you guys. My daughter like wiped it a little bit earlier, but I have another like big dry erase board. It has like 50 tasks on it, and then it has sub goals underneath it, because that's for all my entrepreneurial things. I have another one for groceries. So I think it's important to just keep lists and just keep yourself accountable for what you should be getting done. And I learned this from someone, his name is Vince Williams. He's the vice president now of a minority organization. He helps minority businesses around the city of Chicago. And he taught me this at the Chamber of Commerce. Stop networking and be a connector. So I'll tell you the difference between networking and being a connector. So when you network, maybe you're in a room now, maybe you're in a virtual space just like this, and you exchange information, right? Like that's networking. You, hi, my name is Brittany, nice to meet you. I work at XYZ company, and like this is what I do. And then the other person does the same thing, like, hey, my name is Juliet, and I work at XYZ company, and this is what I do. Nice to meet you. I'll email you later. Great. And then that's the end of that. A connector is similar, but it's a little bit different, because you do that same pitch, and then you say to them, well, how can I help you? Or how can I contribute to you in some capacity? Not just I'm going to email you, because when you email them, what are you going to do? You're going to pitch them your stuff, right? You're not asking them how you can contribute to them. So when you offer to contribute to somebody, you're more likely to develop a long-term relationship with them and actually then sell them something, because you're building trust. So I've learned over the years that I'm a connector. So I'll have like I'll meet people and say, oh yeah, I know Scott, or I know, somebody, this person who could potentially help you. And I'll start connecting those people together. It's not to gain anything, but it's also because I genuinely want to help. But what happens from that? My network is getting bigger because I'm connecting these people together. I'm helping them. I'm continuously helping people. So then I become the person that they know to go to. Or they're more likely to buy my products because, I'm helping them in some capacity. I'm pushing their organization forward. So think about being a connector. How can you help other people? It is to get something in return, but it may not be immediate, but in the long run, it's just a much better strategy. All right. And then this is the part that I was going to talk to you guys about. So again, the name of my company is Evan Ford, and we do webinars and virtual conferences. And when I meet a lot of new clients, I actually give this presentation to them. And I talk to them about the evolution of communication. And I do this to them because I'm telling them, or I'm trying to teach them that whatever they want, there's a creative solution for it. And if we don't have what they need right now, eventually it's going to come. So this is kind of like a part of my sales pitch, again, like when I meet some new clients. So I go over, first we have this telegraph and, the internet, and like, here are all these things now that we have access to. And then, I kind of go into, I give them the education of webinars because, again, when you present yourself to clients, you want them to genuinely know that you're an expert in your area or your field. So this is true when you give class presentations. This is true when you're a parent because kids will challenge you and say, how do you know this? Or, why did you do it this way? So you want to be an expert in every area of your life as much as you can be. So it's having some things to kind of like back you up and push you forward. But we talked about, too, looking ahead, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll start talking to my clients about the possibilities of webinars and virtual conferences in the future. So I'll tell them, wouldn't it be really cool if you could put on a headset and you're at a virtual conference and you can see the speaker like right in your living room, or like augmented reality, like, maybe it's a holograph in the middle, like next to your dining room table or something like that. So I'm just kind of getting people pumped up for the possibilities because with COVID, we have to all social distance. And I know that companies are trying to develop these things right now because we miss conferences, right? We miss, seeing people in person and interacting with them. So I'm trying to get them like really pumped up for, oh yeah, I guess, this technology does exist. And, there's going to be a possibility at some point that these things are going to connect. So I think that's really important. Again, for your own life to kind of think ahead. But if you're going to be, connecting with other people or being a connector, getting them excited about the possibilities to come as well. All right. And then I wanted to mention this too, because this is a part of the entrepreneurial spirit as well. Not just starting a business, but being able to thrive within an organization. So I do a lot of presentations at universities, and I'll go in, again, just kind of like as a career coach, and I'll talk to them about webinars and virtual conferences, and I'll say, these are some of the career paths that you could take. You could go on Indeed.com or Career Builder, and you can type these things in. And then I say to them, or you could, just be a freelancer, or you could just start your own production company. Or you can start your own, event company. You can start your own social media company, because there are two ways to do it, right? You could just, go into a corporation, or you could figure out how to get in a different way. Another thing that I tell people, if they're committed to the corporate life, then go to your employer and say, I noticed that we don't have an account manager position at this organization. Here's the job description, and here are the requirements that, I actually meet these things, and pitch it to them and see if they say yes or no, because it's better to ask than to just leave stuff on the table. So I've done that twice in my career. I've actually gone to my managers and said, we don't have this job. Can I do it? And I've been told yes, because I asked, and I think it was because a lot of people didn't think to. So that's a way that you could be an entrepreneur within your organization. So when you go in to ask for things like that, you want to have some things to back you up. Again, there has to be a need for it. If it's like a sales-oriented position, tell them how you could generate money for them or revenue for them. Give them like some data or something to support you. And then it always helps to have people on your side too, right? So that's what the connector component is. Maybe you helped Sarah, a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. You go back to Sarah and say, hey, can you give me a recommendation letter? So, I always think about things like that too as you're building relationships with people, because they could be the reason why you get your next opportunity. Mm-hmm. All right. And then I just want to highlight speaker now, because speaker is the thing that's really picking up. So with TEDx talks and webinars and all these things, you're just an expert. No matter who you are and what you do, you're an expert in something, whether it's being a parent, whether you're an expert in being, again, like a marketer or entrepreneur, event manager, whatever you can think of, you're an expert in something. Maybe you're just an expert in self-care and being patient, or, healthcare products, being a beautician or a stylist. You're somebody, special that people will look up to. So think about those opportunities for yourself as well. There's always going to be an audience for that, especially with social media now. There's always an audience. So think about how you can get in front of a crowd. Think about how you can influence people, because that in turn could also turn into like a business, or even again at an organization that can turn into opportunities for you as well. Maybe they don't have someone that goes out and does presentations, or maybe they don't have someone who's familiar with or comfortable with video conferencing tools like Zoom. Maybe you're the person that just walks in and says, I'm comfortable with it. How can we incorporate this into my responsibilities? Okay. So I say thank you here, but I'm going to actually go back, if that's okay, because I told you guys I was going to give you like a couple of specific things. I'm going to go back a little bit. So in starting a business, just really quickly, because I do want to make sure you walk away with this, and then I want to open it up for Q&A as well. So a couple things to think about: use your resources. So the Small Business Administration, the Women's Business Development Center, and I'll email you guys this when I send you the presentation, a list of links and organizations that you can kind of tap into. But make sure you use these organizations that constantly publicize that they will help you start your business. It's true. I went to both of those organizations when I just didn't have a clue as to what documents I needed, what websites I should be going to, and they really helped me get started. So I really implore you to utilize those free resources. Or if you know a friend or family member that started a company, simply ask them, because even after you go through those other resources, you may just need somebody to hold your hand. And again, use that Mel Robbins tool and count backwards and maybe have them push the button if you're a little frightened to do it. Mm-hmm. Other things, if you feel like you're not as savvy with like design or anything like that, there are still tools out there, free tools that you can use to do some of those things. So like Canva is one. It's canva.com. Is a really cool site that I love using it. You can create almost anything on there. Flyer, social media posts. You can design your website on there. And then there are other free resources very similar to that one that will empower you to create things, again, for school, for your business, for your employer. I can't tell you how many times I've created reports in Canva, and like my directors, managers, my chief officers loved it because I was able to leverage those tools. So I encourage you to do that. Also, again, the connector piece to that. If you're starting a business, you really have to leverage your resources. Ask for referrals for your company. That's really important. Whenever you complete a project for a client, ask them for a review or a recommendation letter, something that you can share with other clients to say, hey, I've worked with 123 company on this project, and here's what they have to say about me. Because you need to create some type of validity for yourself within the market. So that's just really important to make sure you're collecting those things. And then create a system where you're regularly contacting people. So whether that's social media, whether that's just sending out some text messages to people to say like, hey, here's what I'm working on, or like an email, I think that's really effective. And statistically, it's funny. I know we get like super annoyed with like spam mail, but emails are actually still, email and text messages are the most effective way to actually get results from your marketing campaign. So that's really important to remember. So if you're planning to do something like this, it's email and text messages for sure. And I'm going to kind of skip over to the corporate component because, again, like I said, I've been a career coach for a long time. So I'll just kind of mention these things. Resumes really quickly, 1 to 2 pages. Unless you have a CV, then it's unlimited. But make sure you focus on 2 things in your resume right now. So one are your job descriptions. Make sure that you're looking at the postings that you want and make sure that those keywords are actually incorporated into your resume right now. And then you also want to list your key accomplishments and goals as well in bullet points, because I think a lot of people forget that point. So the new style is like this little paragraph and then bullet points underneath that. So if you ever got a promotion, that should be a bullet point that stands out on its own. If you've received positive customer feedback, that should be something that stands alone. Or if there's any like thing that you can quantify specifically, like for instance, maybe you managed 5 people. So anything to, like quantitatively that you can put into your resume, you want to do that as well. So why are you doing this on your resume? Because if you're keeping your resume up to date, when you're ready to go to your manager, you already have like a document created, right? So you just take those same bullet points up to your boss and say, hey, this is what I've been doing. Like, these are my accomplishments within this role. You promoted me 5 months ago, but I see an opportunity for this. How can we build to this? Now, if your manager tells you no to a promotion, that's okay. Not a problem. When can we have this conversation again? Put that date on your calendar and go back to them and say, we met on September 3rd, and at that time you told me to come back to you in 6 months. It's March now, and I've done X, Y, and Z throughout that 6-month period. Let's talk about this promotion again. Then from there, you're kind of making a decision. If they give it to you, great. If they don't, well, then you've already wrote your accomplishments. You can move on to your next thing. Okay. And then academia. If you're working full-time and going to school, or you're a parent and if you're doing a combination of things and then still trying to go to school, organization, again, is the key. I use my lunch break. I had to wait till my kids went to sleep most of the time, and I scheduled time for myself in the evenings. Like, I was scheduled from 9 p.m. to midnight, because most of the time it's due at 11:59 p.m. So I was scheduled between that time to like get some of my work done. So I would just say, look at your schedule and try to fill in those gaps with your schoolwork. Okay. But ask for help, because you have to, if you're balancing a lot of things. So if you can get someone to come and assist with your children, or if you could get, maybe someone at work to like pick up something so you could leave work early that day. So make sure you're really asking for help, because especially when you're going through school, I think some people don't understand exactly what you have to do. They know you're doing something important, but not everyone will understand how many hours it takes, or how much you really have to do and sacrifice in order to really hit those goals. So one, it's about communication. It's about being transparent and telling them, I have a 10-page paper. I'm a slow writer, so I may need 8 hours to get this done. So can we work something out? Like maybe it's adjusting your schedule at work. So it's about, again, just being transparent, communicating, and adjusting your schedule to a way that you're not burnt out, that you're creating some type of balance for yourself. So I'm not always the best at this, but I do try. I'm sure if my friends and family heard me say this, they will probably be laughing, because I'm like nonstop. I wake up at 5 a.m. and go back to sleep at like 2. So just putting that out there now. Don't do that. All right. And then I'm just going to skip right back down to that thank you slide for you guys. And then if some people want to ask a couple questions, either in like the Q&A, or you could also just use the chat. I'm going to just put my information up here as well. Again, my name is Dr. Brittany Martin. You can call me Brittany. I do have 2 organizations. I'll just quickly talk about them now. I have a support group for mothers and doctorate programs. We are now at 2,000 members. I started this organization less than 2 years ago. So I'm really proud of that. We are in the midst of transitioning into a nonprofit organization so that we can actually offer these mothers scholarships to complete their programs. So you guys can look for those scholarship opportunities later on in the year. And then again, Ebb & Flow is my virtual event company where I go in and I partner with organizations and I provide them with technical support along the way up until their live event. I do dabble in a couple other things, but we won't go into that. I will say that I'm working now to release some workbooks for parents to kind of help them navigate through, especially those first couple years, which can be difficult. So that's it. And I'm gonna look at the Q&A. I'll leave this information up in case you wanna connect with me. And then I see that Tamara asked the first question. So since COVID came into our lives, do you think HIV and PrEP and other diseases will be put on the back burner and COVID will take all of the care and resources that are there for HIV patients, or will it be the same and care will be focused on HIV patients that are COVID positive? So what I think that's happening now, and I'll let Julia talk about this as well, but I think what's happening now is that, yes, COVID kind of took the shine last year with a lot of things, but I think this year that a lot of topics are going to start to resurface. So and that's to sort of say, no, I don't necessarily think that. I think it could be like a mixture of both, where HIV in particular will get its spotlight back. And it could also be a combination of the two. But I don't think that it's going to be put on the back burner this year for a number of different reasons. Specifically when it comes to people of color, it won't be put on the back burner because we're kind of out in front in the media right now, especially with our new vice president. It's almost impossible to put us on the back burner right now. And then Julia, if you want to comment on that as well.
Yeah, I agree, and that is a great question. But the thing is, you have to think about you as a person. You're not going to allow that to happen. Just as Dr. Martin says, we're out here. We're not going anywhere now. And so when you think about COVID, now you could couple that with your other needs. So think of it that way, because there may be something else coming along. And unfortunately, if that happened to cross your path, well, then there you are. You can get resources on that end, just because now a person is HIV positive and they're COVID or other comorbidities. So you can always couple and double your services that you're seeking from different agencies. And that makes you, to me, it makes you as a unique person, because you're not going to take the back burner for anything now. We've learning a lot. We've learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about us as women, as black women, as humans. We are here. We are Americans, and we want the services that we need to help us to live our best life. So we're not going to allow that to happen. So I don't see that happening as well, because we cross so many paths. We're not just one of anything anymore. Unfortunately, it could be a bad situation as well. So, but thank you for that. But go ahead. Thank you very much.
And then it looks like Ms. Good asked us a question. She said she would really like to find a class on entrepreneurship. So this is just a big subject right now, right? So you can find free resources. You can watch you'll hear me say free stuff first, right? Just because I'm all about us being smart financially and empowering us economically as well. So start with the free stuff first to see if you're really interested in it, right? Because if you see, that you're still watching it after a week or two, then you should really dive into it. Now, the SBA and other government entities, they actually have free webinars and workshops as well. And then a lot of nonprofit organizations have free workshops that you can enroll in. I know, I think it's YWCA, not YMCA, but YWCA, I think, is the one that has a program where you go in for an X amount of weeks and they actually help you execute your business. So they'll take you on the Illinois Cyber Drive website and help you fill out your LLC application. which, by the way, if anybody's wondering, and you should always ask for, you should always double check these things. But the LLC now only costs $150.
Right.
So I remember like a couple of years ago it was like $750. Then it became $500, and now it's $150. So this is the time now to like really buy, these things up, because it could potentially go back up in a couple of years, right? So even if you're not ready this year, it's nice to have it and hold on to it. And I think the renewal is only like $75 a year. Now that's just in the city of Chicago. Now if you live in the suburbs or in a different state, it can either be higher or lower. I know in a lot of suburbs, it's like significantly cheaper to start a business. So just something to think about. If you don't want to use your home address, there are virtual addresses that you can utilize now, so that you don't have to disclose your personal information. So just a couple things to think about if you want to become an entrepreneur. And then, like I said, it's just connecting with people and asking them for help. I had a friend who started a business before I started one, so I ended up calling him on the phone and saying, "How did you do this?" And he just walked me through it. And then, that's how a lot of people start. They just ask, just ask for help. You can go to a college for it. There are actually degrees in entrepreneurship now, that'll kind of take you through like an extensive review of marketing, accounting, finance. And then a lot of community colleges are offering like single courses in entrepreneurship as well. So this is definitely the time to sort of invest in yourself if that's the route that you want to go. But the most effective thing from my experience is to get someone to mentor you through the process.
Yeah, I agree. And, also if you wanted to apply for your 501c3 after your not-for-profit has been established, then they got a short form for that as well. So there's another reduction in paperwork and money. So, yeah, that is very useful to know, Dr. Martin. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, because, like I said, I've been talking to the women, been with them face-to-face, before COVID. Mm-hmm. And then when COVID hit, you all started helping out. And, see, that is your experience. You all started taking people to the groceries, you were giving out food. Those are things that you can add to your resume when you want to start your own business. So that you have the experience. COVID, in a sense, forced us or inspired us to have that experience that, hey, we did this, so why not apply it, go all the way with it for your entrepreneurship, start your own. You already been doing it now. Get the correct paper involved, get the correct paper to have. You also, one thing I noticed too, by listening to a lot of webinars, a lot of people didn't qualify for certain things because they didn't even have an accounting system in place. Get your QuickBooks together, get someone to assist in it, get you an accountant. Get those things now together so when you do apply for those grants, you have it. You're already in place. You have the experience because I know you all. I know some of you all, you've been doing things to help out. Even some of our employees here at Universal Family Connection, they tell me they would take food to people. They were giving out donations. They were accepting donations and passing it forward. They've been doing flyers. So we've been doing lots of things because of COVID. It forced us to be creative, to be optimistic. So we have what it takes. Thank you. Thank you.
Patience asked a question earlier, and I do want to answer this one. So she says, getting an LLC, I'm going to rephrase this a little bit to make sure I'm answering your question. So are you asking me if you have to get the trademark in addition to the LLC? You can type yes or no in the chat with me, but I'll start answering this question. So most people actually advise you to get both because, from a legal standpoint, if someone does try to start utilizing like the name that you are like added to your LLC, you can argue like in the course that you had that name first. So that's one thing I want you to think about. Like, I don't know if you, like my company, Admin4, if somebody tries to, like if I didn't have a trademark and someone tries to use it, I could have just gone to the course and said, I incorporated my company on this date in this year, and like they shouldn't be using it. So that's one important thing. The other thing I want you to think about too is that there's like a federal trademark, and then there are some local trademarks too that can also offer you protection. So in the city of Chicago, I think it's like $10. So I did that a couple times too, just to like protect my name. So you can start there because again, from like a legal standpoint, that you're trademarking your name in the city of Chicago, and then like once you get the funds, you don't have the finances right away, then you can go for the bigger ones. But in the meantime, you still have some type of legal protection for yourself. So just something to think about. And then two, you may go in to try to start your company and realize that somebody else already has it, right? So sometimes it's heartbreaking. That's happened to me before. But then, you just have to think of creative ways. Maybe you change the letter. Maybe you add like a word or two into like the title so that it really like truly fits your brand, to say, or so to say. So maybe instead of corp, you use incorporated or something like that. Sometimes it's the minor changes, and then how you do your logo and overall branding. So if you're thinking about doing like the local trademark, I remember like the times that I did it, I had to show 3 items of proof. So I think the items I used were just like my business card, some letterheads that I had made, and a flyer. And that's all I sent to them. I sent them a money order for $10. And then they came back within a couple of weeks that it was approved. It was an approved trademark. So just something to think about. You don't always have to spend like a ton of money right out the gate. I know a lot of people advise you like, oh, you got to get, all this stuff today. But again, you just have to get started. And as you start generating revenue or income through your company, you can start getting those other pieces that you actually need. And Deborah just typed in a question to you. So she said, for a self-starter taking a business course to understand evaluations, cost, private revenue, et cetera, can you elaborate a little bit more on are you just commenting, or are you trying to access a specific thing? And I will say that those things are important. I know I'm saying things like, oh, YouTube, but YouTube has like everything on it. If you want to learn about like a lot of those things, and there are things like Coursera and Udemy and like all these self-paced things that are modules that you can go into and learn. And I'll preface this a little bit more. So I keep saying these free resources because if you truly look at who's giving you this information, is industry experts. So like a lot of those TEDx talks, a lot of the speeches that you see, they're like professors and like researchers and statisticians and maybe they're chemists, whatever you're trying to get into. Maybe there are beauticians that have been in the industry for 20, 25 years and they're on there giving tutorials. So that's why I kind of like say go to those things too, because you can validate whether or not they're actually an industry expert. Okay. And I don't see, oh, okay, there were your comments then. So I don't see anything else right now. If you do have a question, again, 2 of my email addresses are over to the left-hand side. Feel free to contact me. And otherwise, thank you guys so much for having me today. This presentation will be recorded, so I'll be downloading it and sharing it so you guys can, have access to it. But Juliet, I'm going to let you close this out.
Thank you, Dr. Brittany Martin. And you can let us know the next scheduled session, if you can, please. What date? February the 18th, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so these sessions are going to be housed at the third Thursday of every month at the same time at 3 p.m. I'm partnering with Juliet to do some other special presentations as well throughout the year. So we're going to let you guys know when those are scheduled as well. But we're going to bring in a medical doctor at least once a month to talk about various topics, whether it's specifically HIV, or whether it's self-care or mental health therapy, we're booking and securing all of those speakers right now.
Thank
so
you.
The next session is February 8th. And if you want to, I could tell them who the position is for that one.
Please do, please do.
Okay. So I'm pulling her information out. So right now, I'm very excited that we were actually able to get her. But she is her name is Michelle, and she is general internal medicine physician, and she actually specializes in chronic diseases. And she will probably mention COVID because a part of her research now is talking about its impact on minority communities and like what resources are impacted by it. So I think that's really important, and that'll be next month for us to talk about, so that you kind of know what to expect this year from a healthcare standpoint, and what resources, again, could be impacted, or what resources are now available. So we're going to make sure we bring her in right away.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was important, Dr. Martin. So I do like to thank you for your creativity, for your helping us to ebb forward, because you did just that. Today is the first day, like you said, of a 12-month series, so we'll see you all every third Thursday to bring that Black female doctor-led discussion on Black women's access to care. So I'd like to thank you all. I just want to share how I met Dr. Martin. Actually, it was virtually. See, I never met in person. First time seeing the video of her, very, very beautiful. I met her through an email. I saw that they were hosting a girls' lunching seminar, right, for girls, right? And I said, ebbing forward. I said, well, let me look and see. So I like to read. So I scrolled all the way down to the end of the email, and I saw ebbing forward. And I clicked on it, and I said, beautiful pictures of people. It looks like, conference setting. I said, it has to be something more to this. And then I saw it. Then I saw the about page, and then I saw her picture. I saw her profile, and I was all system a go. Because I'm about promoting, our own, and so that's what this whole series is about. This whole structural intervention is about our power, our voice, our control. So I would like to thank you, because we are going to ebb forward. We're going to be doing ad campaigns on Black women's access to care. We're going to be talking about PrEP. We're going to put the Black face on PrEP. Which is pre-exposure prophylaxis. It's an HIV negative pill for an HIV woman to take and to remain HIV negative. We're going to be doing videos. Oh, yes. So I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. I'd like to thank my Black women supporting Empowering Lifestyle Factors work group members. I'd like to thank you all as well for tuning in. So thank you. And I'd like to thank Dr. Lorraine Burroughs for giving us this platform, as well as the Chicago Department of Public Health, Hannah Anderson, who's our project officer. So I'd like to thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. You can end it.